In the 1960s and 1970s, I was director of a dream research laboratory at Maimonides Medical Center in Brooklyn, New York. We had a grant of money that lasted for about 10 years to study anomalous dreams. In other words, dreams in which there seemed to be some evidence of telepathy, mind-to-mind communication, or clairvoyance, remote viewing, knowing something at a distance. We designed experiments to put this under laboratory experimental controls. And the laboratory was founded by Dr. Montague Ullman, who was the director of the Community Mental Health Center at Maimonides. And he was a psychoanalyst, so much of his inspiration came from what he had experienced with his patients, who often would dream about his personal life. Well, here are hundreds, if not thousands, of anecdotal reports in the literature and in the parapsychological lore. So how do you study this in a scientific setting? First of all, you need a laboratory. And with the initial grant of money, we built a laboratory which had a soundproof room for the dreamer to sleep in, and had an experimental control room with electroencephalograph that would measure the person's brain waves and eye movements and muscle tension. Any one of those can tell the likelihood of a person dreaming. So, to introduce telepathy into the picture, we simply had an experimenter in a distant room or a distant building look at an art print, a very dramatic, colorful art print by Picasso or Salvador Dali or Rousseau or Renoir or any number of other painters who have a lot of emotion in their work. And the dreamer's task was to dream about that art print. Now, of course, such a scenario would be impossible in terms of mainstream science and its understanding of perception, especially perception over distance. Such things just don't happen in terms of our understanding of space and time and energy. So this was a daunting task. Now, over a 10-year period of time, we did a dozen formal experiments and many, many pilot studies. And when you lump all of the results together, the odds of the matches being correct, better than chance, are very, very high. If it were chance, it would be like one chance out of 10,000. Well, many people ask us how these experiments were received because they were very unconventional, but we were able to publish our results in some of the most prestigious psychiatric and psychological and psychotherapeutic journals. And we also had a big review article in the American Psychologist, which is the official journal of the American Psychological Association. Also, I presented the results of these studies at several annual conventions of the American Psychological Association. Dr. Ullman presented at the American Psychiatric Association, and we had a surprising openness among people to these results. They found them provocative, they found them interesting, and they found them very plausible. I don't try to convince anybody of the validity of our studies because of this one serious problem, and that's replicability. But most open-minded people think, well, this is worth pursuing. Now, if the money were ever available, I would like to see it pursued to lucid dreamers, because a lucid dreamer could have a dream, become lucid in the dream, and could fly or project himself or herself to the distant room or the distant building where the sender is located, peek over the sender's shoulder or look from the top onto the picture, come back and report the dream and get a tape recorded. This would be the next logical step. And I hope somebody does it someday, because lucid dreaming now gives us another dimension, another maybe advantage that we haven't had. I think that lucid dreaming could play a role in remote viewing studies. We only did one remote viewing experiment at Maimonides, and that was when we had a medical student with us who claimed that during sleep he would be able to go out of his body. Fine, we built a special shelf in the soundproof room, and 4 nights in a row we took an envelope that had a picture in it, had somebody open the envelope and slide the picture onto the shelf, not knowing what the picture was. And then the medical student would try to dream about that picture. The first 3 nights, nothing much happened in terms of a match. But the 4th night, the dreamer woke up very excited and said, "I've just had an out-of-body experience. I went up to the top of the room and I saw the picture. It's a picture of a sunset." Well, of course, nobody knew and didn't know until the next morning. And then the experimenter went into the room and picked the picture, and it was a beautiful painting called Memories of a Perfect Sunset. So that shows the potential of combining lucid dreaming and remote viewing. And again, if the money is ever available, I would love to see some of that done.